Good morning and welcome to this week's class. This week we're going to be talking about learning and development. So let's begin. So what exactly is learning and development? Well, learning and development are specific strategies that will allow us to be able to provide more value to our employees, or shall we say, have our employees become more aligned with our business, better skill to be able to be successful in achieving our organizational goals. So the overall learning and development strategy are an integral part of strategic human resource management. Basically, learning and development strategies are concerned with developing a learning culture within the business, promoting organizational learning, establishing a learning and organization, and providing for individual learning. So what can we see here? For example, if we take a look at talent management, which we have already seen in other classes, HR development is a key part of being able to manage the talent and in order to be able to retain the best talent for our business, retain and recruit. So we can see that talent management includes training, career planning, HR development, succession planning, and performance management. So the basic philosophy that is part of strategic human resource development is, first of all, that human resource development will contribute in a very positive way to the successful achievement of our organization's objectives, our organizational goals, and it benefits, of course, all of the stakeholders within the organization. Human resource development strategies, plans, programs should all be integrated with and should be supported in order to achieve business and HR strategies. And human resource development should always be performance related. They should be designed to achieve specific improvements in corporate, functional, team, and individual performance and make a major contribution to the bottom line, to the attainment of our organization's goals. And everyone in the organization should be encouraged and given the opportunity to learn. It doesn't matter what part of the hierarchical, the hierarchy you are a part of. Everybody should be given a chance and should be encouraged to develop their skills and knowledge to the maximum of their potential. The framework for individual learning is provided by personal development plans that are discussed together with the HR manager. And this is based on both self-managed learning and supported by coaching, mentoring, and formal training as well. And of course, the organization will need to invest in learning and development by providing appropriate learning opportunities and facilities and the organization is the prime responsibility for learning and development, even though the responsibility rests with the individuals who will be given the guidance and support of their managers and also of the HR department. So how can we see, based on the person's specific career stage, where they are in their career, how do we see, or where do we see that learning and development takes place most? Well, it's true that learning and development never stops. A person should always want to learn, whether we are 20 years old or whether we are 80 years old. But most often, learning and development will be done by people in their early career who, of course, have an entry-level position. They are looking at different types of jobs. They don't really have a good understanding of what each job entails. And so perhaps learning and development will help them to understand or to choose a path. Then people who are in their middle career or in the middle of their career lives, their professional life, people who are between the ages of 30 and 40-ish, let's say, they place their interest in advancement within their chosen career path, although specific things may limit their choices, growth or opportunities, for example, but they should be given the opportunity to learn. And these people are very keen on learning, as you guys Of course, no, because that's what an MBA is for people who are not so much early on in their career, but for people who want to become more aligned with an organization, more being able to have other paths open up to them and understand more about the organization in which they're working. And people in their late career may be interested in specific learning and development programs, depending on, of course, how close they are to retirement. We can see that people who are more or less around 50 years old still have roughly 15 years of work ahead of them. They may be people who are more antsy and like to learn things, or they may be people who are just very comfortable in the job that they're in now and are no longer so ambitious to grow and to advance in their career. So what are the elements that we have to look at as part of HR development? Well, the key elements are learning. And learning, we all understand what that means. But textbook definition is that learning is a relatively permanent change in behavior that will occur as a result of practice or experience. And another textbook definition is that learning is a major process of human adaptation. Training is basically, well, you guys have all been a part of training. It's basically specific systematic programs, plans that are being done within an organization in order for people to change or modify their behavior. And they can be done through learning events, programs, instructions, workshops, etc. And these will enable the specific employee, the individual, to achieve the levels of knowledge, skill, or competence that are needed for that specific topic. Development, well, development has to do with being able to grow, being able to realize your maximum potential through learning and development strategies. And education has to do with the development of that knowledge or the values and understanding that are required in various aspects of life, rather than knowledge and skills that are just related to particular areas. So many times when we talk about training, we talk about development, it can seem interchangeable, but there are actually significant differences between training and development. First of all, training focuses on the employee learning specific behaviors and actions and demonstrating techniques and processes. For example, I'm taking a webinar, HR has programmed a training workshop to, for example, identify sexual harassment issues in the workplace. Or, I don't know, communication skills. We are all going to have to take a training course in order to refine our communication skills. In terms of development, it is different because development looks to understand information concepts and context, develop judgment, and expand capacities for assignment. So basically, we can see that training is something that is done in order to enhance or reskill our employees in specific areas of their job performance. And development has more to do with the general idea where I'm not going to take a training course in, for example, I don't know, managing a business, but I'm going to take a development program in managing a business because it is much more comprehensive. The perception or perspective is much bigger, much wider, and it will help me to be able to myself create judgments and become more capable within my different competencies. Now, I will pause for a minute because I need to hook the laptop up to the battery. I'll be right back. Other differences between training and development. Well, we can see that training is shorter term because I want to reskill them so that they can apply it to their job today. I take the training today for communication skills and I can put it into practice tomorrow, where development is longer term. It's a much longer learning process and into integrating and then putting it into practice. And now, how can we measure the effectiveness of training versus development? Well, in terms of training, we as HR managers can measure them through performance appraisals, cost benefit analysis, tests, certifications, etc. Whereas development is much more, it can't be measured in such a precise way. It's much broader. So it can be measured by, for example, seeing the availability of qualified people within our organization when needed, possibility of promoting people from within, and HR-based competitive advantage. As part of the HR development resources, we've seen that learning is a very important aspect, and a learning culture that is fostered by an organization is extremely important. It is considered an essential organizational process in which both top managers, line managers, employees, etc., must be committed to, and they must be engaging continuously. For example, Reynolds describes that a learning culture is a growth medium that will encourage employees to commit to a range of positive discretionary behaviors, including learning, and has these characteristics. First of all, a learning culture has empowerment, not supervision. We empower our employees so that they are able to make their own decisions and be responsible for their actions. It is also more based on self-managed learning, not so much instruction. And as we already saw, it is more based on long-term as opposed to short-term fixes. So what can we see here? As an organization, we may need to overcome specific aspects in order to accomplish our organizational goals. Like, for example, develop new employee skills, encourage change, promote continuous learning, create and share knowledge, facilitate communication, and improve retention of key employees. So the steps that are actually required to create a learning culture within an organization, as proposed by Reynolds, are, first of all, we are to develop and share the vision as top-level management, as HR managers, etc. We must have a belief in a vision for our organization, and we must share and communicate that vision. Then we have to empower employees. Now, what does this mean? We empower employees by providing them the support system that they need, but also allowing them the freedom that they need in order to see that they can do this themselves. Many times it's more of an aspect of people not having their own, not having confidence in themselves, or being unsure of how to make decisions. And through practice, well, we all know the saying, practice makes perfect. It's through practice that people are able to become empowered to understand that they can feel confident about their job, about the decision-making process, and make good decisions in the benefit of their job performance and in the benefit of the organization's strategies. We also must provide employees with a supportive learning environment. If we are saying that we have a learning culture, but we don't allocate hours for each employee to actually be able to learn, then we're not delivering on what we promised. If we say, for example, well, we are a learning organization, and so this 2020, let's say, we are going to provide, I don't know, English classes, or shall we say, or another language, French classes to all of our employees, because one of our subsidiaries is French and we're all going to France in 2021 for our yearly convention. I don't know. Well, if I as the business say that I'm going to be doing this, but then I don't actually program classes and I don't pay for my employees to go to French classes, I'm obviously not delivering on what it is that I am saying. Then we can also use different coaching techniques to draw out the talents of others. So, for example, we can, and this is very closely related to empowering the employees. We can ask, for example, for peers to evaluate each other and to talk about what strengths they have that we could use, or that we could exploit, or that they could develop to their full potential. Many times As managers, we are not there working side by side with many of our team members, and so they understand each other in a better way. And actually, we can say, I as an individual can say, well, I know that I am good at negotiating, but that's it. But perhaps my colleague Susan says, no, Laura's good at negotiating, but she's an excellent, I don't know, PowerPoint designer. And so we must exploit and take advantage of that talent. What else? We can also help guide employees through their work challenges. And this again is very closely related to empowering employees, being able to help them, assist them with the challenges without resolving it for them, but instead providing them with resources, providing them with time, and providing them with feedback and advice. Also, for HR development, we need to recognize the importance of managers who act as mentors or as role models. We may think that we want our organization to adopt a learning culture, but we may have managers who are against this and are not acting as role models. So it's very important that we can ensure that the managers are acting as mentors, are acting as role models upon which we can copy their behavior. And then, of course, we need to encourage communities, encourage networks in which people feel free to be able to communicate among one another, talk about challenges, feel empowered, and be able to take responsibility for those decisions that they have made. And we need to be able to align the systems, the actual way that we work, to the vision that we have. If there are systems in place that are very bureaucratic, that are very admin heavy, etc., and actually just end up piling up on people's desks and does not allow them to be productive, then we need to be able to get rid of these systems which don't add value to the person's job in order for that person to be able to be more productive. So effective HR development actually comprises 3 different areas. We can see that there's development strategies that can take place on-site, off-site, and in different learning organizations that don't have to do with the business being a learning organization. So on our job, in our office, for example, well, there can be coaching sessions, different committees, job rotation, assistant positions, etc. Off-site, there can be, for example, classroom courses or seminars that we can attend, outdoor training sessions, for example, to foster team spirit, etc. Or even sabbatical and leaves so that people can go take time off, become reskilled, or develop a specific area and then come back. And then when we talk about learning organization, we actually talk about places or business organizations that are geared towards educating people. So for example, SSBR is a learning organization, higher education companies. So here we can see, for example, corporate universities, Harvard Business School, career development centers, e-development centers, etc. So this brings me to the end of our second part of the class. I will be right back with the final part.